We'll be going in 1 minute.
Sounds good.
Here we are. Welcome back to Daylight. This is Daylight number 14. This is our first interview. I want to thank everybody again. We've surpassed the 1,000 member mark in this group, and as I said, I'm going to start doing weekly interviews, and we are fortunate to have a very exciting interview today with Joel Valenzuela, who's going to talk to us about what it's like to live unbanked and live just on cryptocurrency alone. Before I jump into that, I just want to state a couple of things. Actually, Joel's name popped into my head first after doing the first dozen or so of these, because we started with the first Daylight talking about the financial collapse and talking about essentially this everything bubble that we're in, that while the coronavirus may be pushing things along and accelerating things, we were headed towards financial collapse anyway. We are in an everything debt bubble, from government debt, corporate debt, personal debt, auto loans, student loans, you name it. These were all at record highs. These are all at highs well exceeding where we were in 2008. And so with that as kind of the first video and laying the foundation, we moved into the second video where I talked about cryptocurrency as an alternative to fiat and the US dollar. And in that video, I introduced, the idea that if, for a number of reasons, cryptocurrencies are superior alternatives. They have a fixed supply, which we are seeing just today, that the Federal Reserve's balance sheet has ballooned to $6 trillion. They can literally print and have stated that they're willing to print an unlimited amount of money, which has consequences down the line in terms of hyperinflation. The transaction fees are significantly lower. You can send digital currency for thousands of a penny, which allows you to do things like have microtransactions. And on top of that, the digital currencies don't actually carry germs or disease. And so there are a whole series of reasons why cryptocurrencies are a compelling alternative. But a lot of you have asked questions, and I know a lot of you are new to cryptocurrency. And so the question is, well, how do you actually go about using it? How do I pay my bills? In fact, we'll get through this, and I know you've submitted a number of questions, and we'll go through a number of those. And I figured that Joel, more than anyone, is the person that has lived this the most. I actually don't know anyone with more real-world experience with this. So his background is an independent journalist and podcaster. He's been living unbanked since 2016. He previously worked for the Dash Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and he now primarily writes and does podcasts for the Digital Cash Network on the Library Decentralized Content Platform. And on the third Daylight video that I did, I introduced you guys to the Library platform. All of the videos that I'm doing, I'm also posting on Library. Library is a decentralized, censorship-resistant platform that allows you to actually make money using the cryptocurrency that they have. And I highly recommend that, and I'm going to be moving more towards Library as we move forward. But with that said, I'll turn it over to Joel and let him just give you, I guess, an overview of his experience, maybe how you got into this, and just a real 20,000 foot overview. That would be great.
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat that real quick? There was a little bit of a connection issue right there.
Yeah, I am seeing this connection issue now, which is interesting. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you right now. It's working well.
Okay. I was just going to say, if you could give an overview, just kind of give you a 20,000 foot view of how you got into crypto and what your experience has been like living unbanked since 2016. There we go.
There we go. So I heard a 20,000 foot view of how I got into crypto and involved. Did I get that one right?
Yeah, how you got involved and what it's like being unbanked.
Yeah, so same as I'm sure a lot of people, um, I got involved with cryptocurrency through the concept of liberty and limited government first. Um, as a young kid, I was starting to learn about how money works with those, how money works kind of books that go into trading of apples and other things and starting to move up into an actual medium of exchange. And when I heard about how money used to be backed by precious metals, and it used to be certificates for that, and then eventually just moved in to get rid of that, and now is just backed by I don't know belief by dictate. It struck me as something that's it's kind of the elephant in the room. While we're all trying to live free in other ways, we're all trying to you know pass better laws and things like that, but then we have this thing looming over us that at any point someone could make some bad decisions and just remove the entire value of all that we worked so hard for in our whole lives. That kind of scared me a little bit. So I got interested in precious metals, and in 2013, when I decided to move up here to New Hampshire for the Free State Project, uh, that's when I started to become uh, acquainted with Bitcoin at first, as many cryptocurrencies, and it struck me as basically a digital version of what precious metals were, of something that actually has it. And when I saw people actually trading with this and sending them back and forth to, even if it was on a clandestine kind of way, like I'll pay you back for lunch with like a little bit of this Bitcoin. Um, I saw that this was being used in a way I've never seen, say, gold or silver being used, or silver to a small extent, but not nearly like that. And so for me, it represented it's something practical that you can do, that you can use to actually overcome this kind of problem of using money that could be worthless at some point in the future. And so after that point, yeah, I'm not someone who minces around with ideas a lot. I try to live principles, and so I tried to use this stuff whenever I could. It wasn't until for another couple of years until I decided to live an experiment and say, what if I can only use this stuff? It's marketed as be your own bank. You can live off the stuff. This is not basically this is a substitute for the current system. And so I decided to sort of give it a run with myself as the game. And in early 2016, I closed my bank account, and where in the world it's becoming um, much better. It's becoming much better over time. Um, but here in New Hampshire, there are plenty of places you can spend it direct barter type situations, or that are basically willing to act as intermediaries when you're trying to do that. So for me, it's much more easy than other places. But also, as someone who doesn't use bank-like services at this point, that part makes it a little more difficult to where some people could use some go-betweens in other parts of the world and kind of have similar success. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
Okay, that makes sense. So, what was your first experience? Where did you first transact with a cryptocurrency? You mentioned Bitcoin. I assume it was Bitcoin.
Yes, because that was in 2013. There wasn't that much else. Um, it was in Chicago. I was driving through there, and a friend of mine who later moved to the Free State Project after I did, he gave me some Bitcoin for my part in lunch. So I covered the pizza, and he gave me some Bitcoin. I'd already heard of it by then. I heard it talked about in a lot of circles, but didn't really sink in until I started using it. And so then within a few months, it had gone up like tenfold in value, if not more. And even though I just had a little bit, I started to use it there, and that's kind of where it clicked.
Okay. That makes sense. So since 2016, so I'm going to just jump into some of these questions now because I think that this hits at a lot of this. So somebody asked the question, because I know you mentioned, I mean, I knew New Hampshire, I mean, I moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project as well in 2009. And I know it, last time I checked, at least according to Overstock, we have the highest per capita usage of cryptocurrency anywhere in the world. I don't know if that's still true, but I've got to assume that that would make sense that that is still the case. But the
Yeah, probably.
first question was asked was, so how do you buy stuff at a gas station in, like I said, in bumfuck Alabama? But you know, that's a
Yeah. So something I call I call the dark zones is every place outside of here. Whenever, because I had traveled a lot for work in the past, including quite a few times to Europe, and it is always much more difficult because I got, as something that's um, new and not exactly universally accepted, it's a lot easier. Well, not only because New Hampshire is a special place, but just wherever your home base is, you know more things, you know more people who are willing to do things more. Um, what would you say? The term agorist vendor, which basically just you know your buddy who will cut your hair, gray market, clandestine kind of vendors. It's a lot easier to get to know that in your home base. So when traveling, usually I get a little bit of paper cash just in case. Now, um, it, it, so this is much more. This is kind of doable in a lot of like major cities. If you go there, there's usually some sort of ATM that for when you can't just be running an experiment all day. When you have to just when you have kind of work to be doing. But probably the biggest thing, if I was to recommend one service that really helps you with all comp, I don't work for them for cryptocurrency. I just did it an hour ago or so.